I'm going to try a spin and counter spin method of making cordage from this long piece of scrap deerskin. I'm going to try spinning it as twine. So I tied a little knot here. I've got my little spinning hook I use here. And somewhere here I've got my tools. Oh, well, they're on my chair. So, okay, so I've got a little spinning hook, which allows me to spin, and then a crook for counter spinning that keeps the eye open. So I'm going to give it a shot here. I'm going to tie, this is about a 7 or 8 foot piece, and I'm going to break it off where it's too thin and weak. And as long as it holds together, I'm going to tie a stop knot. I'm going to tie it onto the hook with an overhand knot. So it's on this end. I'm going to pull it out, and I'm going to just spin this whole piece. This piece is like 6 foot long. Somehow I disconnected it from my hook. I'm going to tie it onto the hook. So I'm going to spin this piece. I'm spinning up some cordage with a spin and counter spin method. So you can kind of see how to make cordage out of scraps of deerskin. This is the offcut of a piece of deerskin that I cut up in a previous video. It's not exciting right now because I'm just spinning it to get it up to spun. I hate spam colors. Okay, so I have spun this up, and I'm going to get more tension in it. And then I'm going to fold it and counter spin it. So I'm going to put the crook on here and fold this and put it in the hook. That allows me to spin it into twine. I'm not going to overspin it. I'm just barely spinning it. So this is what's called loose lay twine right now. And it's just loose lay. And so I'm going to turn it into tightly spun twine cordage by putting this hook on, hooking it to a fishing swivel. And I'm going to try and keep it in the frame of the camera mostly. So I'm going to just grab both ends and take it all the way out to the end. I'm going to add more spin, add more tension to the twine as I allow this to go on to spin together. Yay! Okay, sounds good. It's hard to find quiet time to set and spin.
I said, okay, sir. What do you say, Miss Pete? He said
Time
he's agreeable.
overhand knot,
Oh, hi, Sarah.
fold it,
What you up there? Sarah, no, yeah.
put the tails through.
I don't want your hair all over me, son. I can't do that today.
Then I'm going to try and close the door here because other people are home. So I try and do this late at night, but I'm doing it right now. Then the steps that make this really nice as cordage are you take it off the swivel, you hook the hook onto something that won't spin, and then you overspin the cord. So you're just going to spin it up as tight as it'll go, and you'll see it compact the core a little bit. Okay. So once you get it good and tight, keep it under tension. If you take a scrap of veg tan and compact that core, then you can let go of the cord. You'll see how much tighter this cordage is. Now, if you spin it apart, you can see it is twisted as twine, but it's pretty nice. Unspin the loop a little bit at the end. That way I can take the tail and push it through. So it'll let you take your scraps of off-cut leather and make use of them as a twine or a necklace or a bracelet. All the stuff you would normally throw away. If it's strong enough that it doesn't break and it's long enough to spin, it makes for a nice cord. So there's one cord spun. So what I started off with was, you can see this is beveled because this is the offcut from where I was beveling string. So this side got beveled off and that side square cut. So it's not evenly, and this is almost like a suede deer skin. So I'm gonna zoom out. I'm going to go up with the camera and so you can see the spin process. It's not very exciting to watch from a distance, but it's how I go about doing these things. Well, if I could just turn it the right direction, I can stop the camera for a second. Okay. Okay, So I've got the camera there. Actually, I've got to back way up in order to show you because this is a 6 or 7 foot piece. Well, welcome to my life. Spinning leather thread into leather cordage. So you take and pull where it's super thin, make sure it's not breaking off. Tie a knot for a stop knot, and a knot to put on a stationary little hook. Lock it onto that spinning hook. And this piece is 8 feet or 7 feet, something like that. And so it's got some weirdness there. But tie a stop knot, and tie it onto a little spinning hook. Like so. And then I'm going to pull it straight. You can see about half of it. So, spin this to the left. Well, it has some tension on it. Let it compact. And this cord is starting to get shorter, and that's about where I like to think about folding it. Okay, so I'm going to fold this. So you take the crook, that's this shape, you put it about in the middle, keep the tension on it. And then you set and spin it the other direction. So now this is almost 1/4 of an inch, and it's loose lay twine. And if that's what you want, you can stop there. But if you take the hook and put it on a fishing spinner or fishing swivel, and you put the open loop on there. Okay. And you pull the 2 ends of the twine and hold on to them. It'll open up this entire thing. Then I'm going to continue to add tension. So I'm going to scoot way up on this. And I'm going to tilt the whole thing down, if I can get it to tilt down. And zoom in a little bit on it. So when I pull it apart, you don't lose any of the tension. And then you let it keep adding tension to it as you want to spin it. I'm just adding spinning. I'm spinning it almost as much as it was spinning before. You can unspin it all the way. And the key is to let it come together slowly and keep a 45-degree angle. And keep adding tension to it. Now you can let go of it for a second. Zoom out the other way. I'm just trying to lay these two pieces as evenly as I can all the way down. You can also set it on your leg. Use your whole hand to spin it. Set it on your leg. Put plenty of tension in there. It's really thin on that side. I'm not sure if I can pull this all the way apart, but I'm going to try all the way apart. And I'm going to move it about 3 inches or 2 inches. So I've compacted this down to 3/16 or so, from about 1/4 of an inch, by spinning it tighter. I'm spinning buckskin or deerskin scraps into some twine. Okay. Tie a stop knot in here. Make a figure 8 after an overhand. And then take the slack out of the figure 8 knot. There you go. Now, if you hook this hook back onto the hook so it can't spin, and you compact it all the way as tight as it'll go until it stops compacting and spinning. It'll spin on down to about 1/8 of an inch. So all the material that was in 1/4 of an inch is now compacted and twisted into twine that is now 1/8 of an inch. And that 1/8 of an inch string is now strong as hell. So. And most people make loose lace twine, but they don't know anything about overspinning and compacting it with burnishing. Now you can't burnish this too much, because it's basically mostly the skin side or the suede side of the string. There's very little surface grain in this hide because how they did this. So while you're pulling on it, now this piece of leather in my fingers is very hot. So we've now compacted that 1/4 inch loose lay into a tight lay, and it's 2.57 millimeters, 2.5 millimeters. or it's a tenth of an inch. So it's 2.52 millimeters now. So it's under an eighth. And you can't break this. It's I can't break it with my hands now. And from grab a fid here. Open up this eye. Because I spun it really tight. Because I overspun it and that tangled the fibers when I polished it. Eye is so tight. But that eye is now open. You can see before I overspun it was like that, and now it's quite a different animal. But it's one way to make very good string. You might have to use a fid to open up the end to get it around the knot. Slip the fid back, roll it over the knot. This is tightly spun twine. You can turn it the other way. So if you want that eye to be looser, you can twist it a couple times to loosen it and work it through to the eye. And just untwist the eye a little bit. That'll make it so you can pull it through. That makes for a nice bracelet or a nice little necklace. From something that looks like this, that's fuzzy, to a hard packed, strong piece of string. I'm gonna lower the camera here. What is this? Yeah, it's twine compaction and twine. So, not everybody compacts their twine, but I like to do it with when I'm trying to accomplish strength and out of leather, turning it into leather twine. It makes a really strong, compact cord. You can compact almost any string like this. So this is some chrome tanned leather. This is like 1/4 inch. And it's been trued up, so I'm going to get about 5 or 6 feet here. So this isn't scrap. This is decent leather. You have to pay attention to where the natural bias is for the curve, where you cut around the corners, because you're going to have to wrap in that direction. And this is done a little bit differently. Tie a knot. You slide it through. And then you manually twist it to start it, to make it round. So you don't need any tools to make twine, really. You do have to pay a lot of attention, and the better tools you have, the better the string will be. The more attention you pay, the better the resulting twine. This is kind of flecked. Almost looks like Dalmatian. This is a chrome tanned, I think it's kangaroo hide. So. So now that I got it started on that end, I'm going to tie it off down here. I'm going to put it on the hook we were doing before. I'm going to try and spin it closed without having to spend an hour spinning this piece of leather. And it's important to check and see if there's any flesh side showing, because it means it flipped inside out. And undo those areas that don't roll correctly. Once you get this mostly spun up, so all the gaps are pretty much tightened up here. Pull on it to compact it a little bit. The hard part with spinning twine is keeping the tension in it while you're doing it, so you don't end up upside down. So you take your crook, you put it on the center, you fold the other end to the other end, and you spin the twine. It looks a little like bamboo, but it's not. this hook. Put it like that. You take these two ends and you pull it all the way out. The other thing you can do is you can tie a finger loop. You put it on your finger. Take the other side, make a finger loop. Tie it on your finger. Pull it out, even it, and the goal is really to keep this under a lot of tension as you spin it. You back it up, work that angle together, add more tension, pull it apart. this is definitely more of an art than a science. But as you get more and more tension into it, remember to pull it apart and relay the twine. So you can transfer the tension back up where you want it. Back, reseat it. Keep tension in it. I'm going to show you a different way to finish the ends of this twine just because it's sometimes handy. So instead of a big old stop knot down here, grab your fed and take out your little knots, maybe. Or you can just cut them off. Just don't cut your fingers off. Okay. So I'm going to undo this a little bit, like so. Grab a pair of... Okay. Okay, so you can take up here, take a scalpel or an X-Acto. You can split this strand roughly in the middle. You can open it up with fed. You can tuck a piece through. And that's the bottom strand. The top strand, you do the same thing. The piece that's now on top. Try not to stab your fingers. It'll ruin your leather. It really will. Use your fed or tent spike or whatever. Open up the hole and fold the leather. Fold the leather through the hole. That way you have two little tails. That creates a... Okay. I'm going to take this hook. I'm going to hang it up here. I'll get closer so we can see it. So I'm going to tighten the heck out of this. You can see it's starting to look like really nicely spun rope, but it's just twine. There's only two strands. This is actually the same strand folded in on itself. I'm going to tension the heck out of it so it's all tight, all the way to the end, and keep tension on it at the same time. Okay. I'm going to let go of that for a second. I want this eye to be bigger on this one, so I'm going to open the eye up. I'm going to put it on the 1/4 inch hook I've got up here. I'm going to tighten it up. Now the little fuzzy gray that's dotted through here is the flesh side poking through from the intersections of the flat rolled kangaroo string. Okay, that's about as tight as I can hold it. We're going to take a scrap of edge tan. We're going to compact this core. It evens up all the tension and compacts that. And when I let go, it'll untwist a little bit. But now it's really beautifully compacted twine that's really consistent. And the eye that I put on a bigger stud up here is held open. You can push those little guys through. You've got a cinching loop you can utilize. So that's what happens if you start with uniform lace. You can spin it into twine. So this is about 5.5 millimeter, 5 millimeter. Make some 1/8 inch twine. And I've just taken 6 feet off of this string, and it's about a 30-inch loop of twine once it's folded, spun and folded and stretched. So it's kind of a cool thing to be able to compact and make your own twine. Not everybody does it the way I do it. This is just how I figured out works the best for different types of materials. I'll show you different techniques with rawhide versus this is a chrome tan leather. Earlier I was doing deerskin. So here's another ball of deerskin string. deerskin lace. This side should bail out. So this is the offcut of some deerskin that was almost like it's almost like suede. Both sides of it are like the flesh side. It just was beat up. It's a little narrow spot there, narrow spot there. Get some idea as to what I'm working with. It goes in and out because I took rough cut lace, and this is the waist from the rough cut 7mm that I cut down to 4 or 5. You put the weak areas together because they're both on the ends. This area for the loop is pretty strong, and it's about 2 foot as a loop. Put the center on there. So you want to spin them both counterclockwise or both clockwise. And try and drop the camera here down if I can without causing it too much of a. That was horrible. Sorry, guys. So I'm going to spin these to the left. That thing just doesn't want to focus. Okay. I'm going to sit down in my chair. This is a lot easier with a piece this short. So I'm going way out towards the end. I'm going to get them all spun up. We don't really care what that end's doing yet. But if your hand's spinning on a swivel, because there's a fishing swivel at the top of this is a useful trick. Get it spun roughly together. And hold on, keep the tension in it, undo it all the way. And then add more spin and holding it about 45 degrees apart. Try and let it slowly fight you to come together. Trying to keep this in frame and not bump the camera, and both my hands are full. So sorry if I knock the camera. The back part, that puts the tension, evens the tension out. Okay. And I'm pulling on both ends and twisting. And pulling on both ends and twisting. If you let any of the tension escape, it won't keep compacting. Once you get a bunch of spin in it, pull it back apart. spin as you go. And here's the thing, you might break the deerskin pieces you're working with, but if they twist apart because they're weak, you want to find where they're weak before you start using it. I don't care what you're using it for necessarily, but before you start using it for something functional, you want to know that it's strong. Okay, so there we have a cubit, 18 inches. And so there's a few ways to finish this up. You can bring it in the direction it wants to go all the way around and tie a half hitch with one feather or one end. So overhand knot around the stem. And that stops it from spinning. Then you can take the other side, and it wants to go the other way around. So we're going to go the other way around. Do a half hitch. Against the stem. That makes a stop knot as well. Okay, if we hook the hook, if we unscrew the little loop and put it on this 1/4 inch post here. Change the angle. Sorry about the weird lines, LED lighting. Okay, we slide that on down. Okay, and we're going to tighten it on that post. And lay that deer skin as tight as we can and tighten up the twine. You see the difference between untightened and tightened. And that allows all the collagen fibers that are sticking out of this suede deerskin stuff to lock together. Help keep it tight. You grab a piece of veg tan scrap. And compact that core. And take it back up. And then let go of it. So now I can pull this eye off and it won't collapse, hopefully. I can pull the tails. It's pretty amazing to go from soft and fuzzy like that to this with deer skin, but it's pretty cool stuff. Always feels like felt. And then you can tighten this up on a package or something and it'll hold. But you can't break this twine with your hands. It's unbelievably strong. And it's all made with this nice soft fluffy offcut from, you can make a much more consistent little bracelet or something. Just sharing some ideas and things I do. I'm going to get some more string here. So here's another bundle of fuzzy. It's about 7 feet or so. Yep, maybe a little more. So here's another way to do this. Tie a knot on each end because it's easier to roll something that's like a knot to hold on to it. I'm going to face it down. So you just kind of hook this on. Let me find the center bite. So the more tension you get in this, you pull on it a little bit as you're, the secret to getting all this really fairly consistent is keeping tension as you are spinning. You can't let it get too loose. This is almost a 1/4 inch piece of twine right now because it's pretty fluffy. Then you pull on it and do the whole thing. It puts more tension to the top where there wasn't much. You keep spinning it, keep adding tension, keep spinning it. And it'll squish a lot of the air out of the fluffy deerskin string that you're spinning. And there's little machines you can get that let you spin rope and spin twine. I'm just showing you one method of doing it by hand that you can really pack the tension into it. So you're kind of pushing the tension into areas of this as you compact it. I think that's what most people miss when they're spinning natural fibers into twine or string or cordage. Okay. That piece is probably 30 inches long. I'm going to untwist this tail, throw a half hitch against the stem. Tighten up that one, and then untwist it. Throw another half hitch against the stem. That one over the top of the other knot. Just to give it a little more bulk. Okay. Then I'm going to move this hook up to where it's solid. Come back up to the hook. I hate LED lights because I can't change in YouTube. At least I don't think I can. What does this do? Nope, that doesn't help. I don't know where the camera controls are for this, for YouTube. They're not normally. But this LED lighting is a little bit of a problem. So putting it on a 1/4 inch thing, and hang your hook again. We're going to tighten this up. Really compact this twine. Okay, it's all compacted. Take a piece of veg tan scrap, pull on it, and keep the tension in it. It gets hot. And let the tension off of it. So now you've got a piece of compacted, high-strength twine out of. Let's see if I can zoom up on this. From this fluffy, like that, to this compacted 1/8 inch twine. This twine will hold probably 60 pounds or so, 70 pounds. Let's zoom back out. Back the camera away so that hopefully the lines will go away. Maybe not. I wonder why that is. It's just a weird artifact from the LED lights, I'm guessing. What if I just turn off this one? That's probably better, although it's got a good shadow. Anyway, I don't know which lighting is better, but now it's got a couple little fuzzy rabbit ears. Anyway, this is good for a bracelet or a necklace or to hold stuff. It's made like a bowstring, but this is deer skin that was fluffy deer. Like if you look at this pretty close, you can see this is like suede deer skin. And it's been compacted and made into twine like bowstring. I suppose you could use it as a bowstring. It's probably strong enough. But I started with some scrap offcut from lace. And it goes from this fluffy, squishy, soft stuff to a bowstring or a twisted twine. You can make bowstring this way with wax and other things. Does anybody want to see me spin one of these with wax to see how it turns out different? You can leave me a comment if you do. I've spun this type of material wet too, and it gets really compacted and makes a really nice twine, and it softens up as it gets as it dries. This is a very short piece. So when you have short pieces, this is like, I don't know, 4 feet or something. You just put it on the hook and spin it. And really the secret to getting it to compact well is twofold. One is you're twisting it, and you can make loose lay twine. This is basically loose lay twine. It's fast to make. It's not nearly as thin or strong. When you get done kind of spinning it generically together, You pull on it, and pull it apart, adjust it a little bit, let it come back together a little bit, and keep adding tension by spinning more spinning to it. And then all the extra tension you're adding to the bottom just evens it out to a certain extent. If you pull on it and pull it apart, now it compacts even more. Takes a lot of the air out of the fibers and collagens in the leather. The fluffy proteins. Pull it apart. That's what you want it to do, because if it's going to break, you want it to tell you where it's weak. And you grab where the end was, and you pull it apart. And you get a different center for the center bite. You want it roughly on the center. You keep adding tension. Because if you twist it apart, or if you break the fibers down too much, you will twist it in half. And there's a balancing act that's happening between trying to get the maximum you can and finding where it's weak. Because don't forget, this is made out of the scraps. This isn't the string I build. This is what I throw in a bucket and give to people a lot of times, is this lace that is the offcut. So it's basically like a suede. It's got triangular edges from the beveling process, and this is the scrap that comes off of the offcut, or whatever you want to call it. Okay. Getting down to the bottom. Let's throw a half hitch against the stem. Tighten it up through there. Undo it. Throw a half hitch. Against the stem. That'll keep it from coming unwound. And I'm going to hook this back onto the... So it went from 1/4 inch loose lay I'm going to undo this very tight loop, lay it over the top of this. Do that. Now for the final compaction, what you do is you tighten, twist it all the way tight, as tight as it wants to go while you're pulling on it. It takes all the stretch out of the twine. It really squeezes the air out of the space because it's all twisted up. Take some veg tan, protect your fingers. And if you wanted to make it even more weatherproof or something like that, so if you wanted to, you could take a little beeswax like this. You can rub it down with some beeswax. Give it a good surface coat. Now beeswax melts at 180 degrees or 189 degrees or something like that. As you heat this up with friction, it'll melt all that beeswax right into the leather. If you want to make shoestrings out of deer skin, this is one way you can take deer skin scraps and make some of the best shoestrings you've ever seen. Put it up with a fit. Another trick is if you pop it off of a mandrel or something, you fold the string and fold the string through the loop, like so. Turn on the light, fold the string through. And twist the loop a little bit. Zoom in on this. You can see how it compacted that fluffy deer skin into a bit of wax twine. Kind of weatherproof it. So you can take really fluffy skin, fluffy suede-like deer skin, and turn it into wax twine pretty easily. Anyway, it's kind of cool stuff because you can put it on something and slide a loop, create a loop that grabs well enough you can tie down stuff. Plus it's cool to make your own cordage, so I got fascinated by it when I started making whips because it's one way you spin crackers. So, all right, this Check with Pocket Snakes. I've been at this an hour and 21 minutes. Thank you guys so much for the likes and the shares. If you like what I do with making twine and string, get it to set still. Of course not. Making cordage and string. Hit the bell, subscribe, like, follow me. Sometimes I'm spinning, sometimes I'm braiding.